49ers faithful, it's time to talk some 49ers updates, OTAs. We have some injury updates, potential contract holdouts, risers, fallers, all ready from day one, day two of OTA. So we're going to talk about all those things, especially talk about the rookies, the new veterans. I'm excited about it. We got football to talk about. I haven't seen you guys in a while, so I'm excited to get into this one. You guys already know what to do. I can already see it piling up in the chat, dropping SDS just like Josh did here. Let's go. Appreciate you guys. Smash that like button. Let's get into it all right now. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. How are we doing, squad? Oh boy, it's been a while since I've been live. I just went back and I looked. It's been like 6 days since I've done a live with you guys, which might be it says 7 days actually. Might be a record for the longest time we've gone without a live. No, but seriously, it's good to be back with you guys. Eventful week, I would say. We had my birthday, and then we had my daughter's birthday right after that. So the last couple days actually of OTAs, I've been at the Great Wolf Lodge swimming in a lot of chlorine and maybe some other things. But yeah, man. So it's been eventful. Had a great time. Got the whole family, some of my daughter's friends, took them to the Great Wolf Lodge, my first time there. But I was just kind of keeping my eye on the 49ers happenings around OTAs. So I haven't really had a chance to talk to you guys with about a lot of the stuff that's been going down. So I'm actually excited to get into it all. But first of all, it was just absolutely fantastic to be able to see 49ers players back out there on the field. And you got to see guys like Nick Bosa, who typically don't show up around this time of the year. But according to Nick Bosa, had a conversation with Kyle Shanahan. They chopped it up, and they're like, you know what? We have so many new defensive linemen. It probably would be a phenomenal idea to come through and be a leader of this defensive line room, because that's exactly what Nick Bosa is now, which is crazy because before, I think it was really Eric Armstead who carried the torch for that defensive line room, and the torch has now been passed. I mean, we know Nick Bosa was voted a captain prior to last season, so he's already doing things to earn that captain's patch back. Obviously, I think we've developed a bit of a trend with some of these holdouts. I think the rule is if you hold out for a contract, you don't get the captain's patch that next year. So it is what it is. But I really like to see Nick Bosa being a leader, coming back, because we have a ton of new faces on the defensive line. It's really going to be a revamped group. So I'm really excited to see Bosa back. Not that many players from a high caliber standpoint were participating, but we did get Brock Purdy out there, which was great to see. We got to see a bunch of other guys too. Deebo Samuel rocking the new Uno Samuel in the building. I think it's pretty cool for Deebo, to be out there. There's no Kittle, no Trent Williams, no Ayuk, no CMC, but you had Deebo Samuel leading the wide receiver group. So I think that's good. I think that I mean, and he's looking. I mean, just from the photos that we've seen, some of the videos that we've seen, looks like he's in fantastic shape, and looks like he's got something to prove. And a Debo Samuel with something to prove is a very, very dangerous player. So you love to see that. But overall, just great to see some of the new faces out here. Malik Mustafa. I forget. I think I saw Bullocks, the DB coach. I think he compared him to Bob Sanders today, the safety out of, or I think it was yesterday, but the safety with the Colts back in the day, who was a dog, basically based on frame, compact size, but they don't play like that. So sounds like Bullocks is a fan of Malik Mustafa, so you love that. Jair Brown heading into year 2. We got to hear from Jair Brown as well. Brown is again. I've had the opportunity to interview Brown at the Super Bowl. You talk to him for 5 minutes and you just understand that this guy's a guy. Like he's a leader. He's a guy who has got the ultimate presence. Just when he speaks and how he engages with his teammates. That's a guy that you love to have out there on the field. We got a lot of guys working off to the side. But still great to see guys like the first round rookie, Ricky Pearsall out there. You got Kyle Juszczyk holding it down for the veterans. JP Mason. This is a guy that I'm super excited about. I feel like he's really flown under the radar in the grand scheme of like talking points. I think I'll speak for myself. I can get it kind of locked into kind of like what's going on right this second, right now. And instead of taking like a broader step back and just looking at the entire roster and kind of taking time to pinpoint maybe not the high end players or talk about the quarterback or these types of things, this is a guy that I want to talk about more because when Yetur Gross-Matos was signed, I actually was kind of upset because I was still in my Brian Burns era of really wanting the 49ers to trade for him. And when they signed YGM, I was like, that's not Brian Burns. And partially due to the fact that they don't have the same skill set. But then I got out of my feelings a little bit and I was able to be like, all right, we're gonna take the Brian Burns era, we're gonna put that behind us, and let's focus on this new era of 49er football. And I really allowed myself to watch more film of YGM and just think about his fit with the 49ers. And with Eric Armstead out of here, I think YGM could fit a phenomenal role. Phenomenal role with the San Francisco 49ers. We've seen so much success from Arden Key, from Charles Omenihu, guys that are these hybrid edges that typically on any other team will play defensive end only, but where the 49ers will kick them inside into pass rushing situations. And he's a stud and base down, kind of like what Cleveland Farrell was for us. Cleveland Farrell was phenomenal against the run, and we really felt his loss throughout the playoffs. Well, I think YGM is going to fill that particular role that Cleveland Farrell had, but he has more upside than Cleveland Farrell as a pass rusher. So I think you're going to be able to kick YGM over the guard into these kind of NASCAR packages, into the pass rush, groupings for that defensive line, and you could see a situation where it's Leonard Floyd, YGM, Hargrave, and Bosa getting after the passer regularly, and YGM would be the guy who would get the singled up guard on the backside, and that could lead to a lot of pressure from him. So I'm really excited about this particular guy moving forward, and he looks the part. He definitely looks the part. So I am excited for what YGM can bring to this situation. So, uh, who the F is YGM? That's Yeter Gross Matos, my guy. Roberto Davis says, what is this BS about CMC holding out? So this was all started, I believe it was a question that was asked by Eric Branch. And Eric Branch asked Kyle Shanahan if Christian McCaffrey's absence was contract related. And Kyle Shanahan didn't say yes or he didn't say no. So I think with anything in life, when you talk about these things and you don't, you leave it open ended, right? Like you leave it open ended. It makes us think. It makes us like, well, wait, is this contract related? Because I know for a fact we haven't done like huge segments on it. I haven't done dedicated videos on it, but we've talked about on this channel, like we have to keep it in the back of our heads that Christian McCaffrey is going to be up for a new contract soon. Like we've been talking about different things, and I'll just be like, hey guys, remember CMC is on like an unlimited deal. And on top of that, he's outperforming his deal. So I didn't have a timeline for it, but it's been something that I've been preparing for internally so that when that question was posed, I was like, oh yeah. I like checked my watch. I'm like, oh yeah. You look at his contract, you're like, oh, he theoretically could ask for an extension, which would give him a raise after he just won Offensive Player of the Year as a running back. So you kind of think about it and you're like, actually, this could be contract related. Now, we don't know. I don't know. I'm just connecting the dots because again, we've talked about this. This isn't the first time we've approached this conversation. So I just didn't know the timeline. I just knew it was going to happen. I just didn't know when. And if the when is now, then it kind of makes sense. And what I'm seeing in the chat is Roberto Davis is saying CMC has no guaranteed money left on his contract. Well, that's a big problem, especially for a running back who just won Offensive Player of the Year. So my gut instantly went to I was watching Kyle speak. And when Branch asked that question to him and Kyle didn't give an answer, I was like, ooh. I was like, light bulb, like, dang, it really could be contract related. Now, we won't know really until mandatory minicamp, which is June 4th through 6th, I believe. So we'll really have our answer by then, unless something gets leaked or something happens. So so and then I need to now go back and watch this because apparently Bobby Turner was asked, and it's and again alleged. I didn't see this. I trust my guy Cap. He's saying that it's business related. Well, there's your answer. Because I think we all understand that Christian McCaffrey is the Christian McCaffrey is like the I think Chris Sims talked about it today. Chris Sims said CMC is like the Tom Brady of running backs, meaning he's going to go above and beyond what is asked and requested of him. We know this. CMC is different. He was literally constructed in a football laboratory by his dad and his mom, two elite athletes themselves, and that's where he grew up in that mold. So being an NFL athlete was something that was instilled to him at a very young age. So I do believe that if it were up to CMC and no contracts, things were an issue, he would be at OTAs. Absolutely. I also did see people talking about Christian McCaffrey's getting married. I have no idea. CMC forgot to send me the invite. It's okay, CMC. Next time. Just kidding. Um, I don't know. I'm not sure. And again, nothing that I've said about this situation is definitive. It's more so we're connecting the dots. We're just connecting the dots of Christian McCaffrey has wildly outperformed his contract. If that is true, if there is really no guaranteed money left, then that is a huge, huge signal to essentially say that, yeah, that would definitely lead me to believe that this is contract related. But we don't know for sure, so we're not going to say it is for sure until we know. But it changes the conversation dramatically, right? Like all off season, we have been talking about Brandon Ayuk's contract, his extension. He's been leading the headlines, for half the offseason. And here we are in OTAs, like, wait a second. Is Christian McCaffrey in the middle of a contract negotiation? Never a dull moment with our group and all this good stuff. So maybe we got two contracts that are going to get paid out, or maybe three, because what does appear to be a holdout is Jawan Jennings. Now, do we trade CMC? Absolutely not. Nothing's happening with CMC. Nothing's happening with CMC. I would, if I had to guess, if I had to do anything, CMC's not going anywhere. CMC, Jed York, based on how Jed York talked about how Jed and John had to twist Kyle's arm to trade for CMC, this might be above Kyle's pay grade for once. I think Jed would be like, nah, man, CMC ain't going anywhere. If it really came down to it, like, I don't think Kyle wants CMC to go anywhere. I don't think Jed, John, Parag, nah, like CMC's here to stay. It's just, it's that natural progression. It's the natural progression of money, right? Of how do we get the funds out? Who do we pay? How do we pay this guy? And maybe it even speaks a little bit more context into the Eric Armstead situation, right? Because the Eric Armstead situation was felt like it came out of nowhere, right? And Eric said, I believe, I can't remember, it's been a while now, but I believe Eric said the 49ers offered him like 6 million. I think, I can't remember. I might be butchering that completely. But in essence, what Armstead revealed was that the 49ers, quote unquote, lowballed him compared to what he was getting paid and what he got from the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I think we were all kind of surprised by that. But maybe now, if the 49ers were budgeting also for CMC, then that might make even more sense. You know what I mean? Like, where it wasn't just a move for like All right, we're getting prepared for Brock, for Ayuk, potentially Talanoa Hufanga. We're getting ready for some other guys that have to get paid. Well, throw CMC into that mix. And again, when you look at what CMC has done, he's absolutely deserving of it. And if that is true and there's no guaranteed money left on his contract, then yeah, that to me speaks even more loudly to the fact that this could be contract related. So, is it confirmed that it's contract related? No, it's not. So, I a lot of what we're doing right now is speculation, and I want to make that clear. Like we're just speculating right now. We're like, okay, why is CMC not there? We're connecting the dots. All right, we still got to wait for confirmation of the situation, and we'll figure it out from there. Also, maybe a consideration too is when I think $18 million in cap space clears up post June 1st. So that money from Eric Armstead clears post June 1st. So there could be a situation where these deals could get done around that time, considering the fact that, from my understanding, mandatory minicamp is June 4th through 6th. So June 1st, bunch of cap space opens up. Mandatory minicamp kicks off June 4th. It seems like I don't know. What I do feel though with this CMC situation is we're kind of just scratching the surface of it, of like really understanding what's going on. I think that question that Branch asked really opened that up. I think really opened up the wait, because OTAs are voluntary. You know what I'm saying? Voluntary. They aren't mandatory. So if CMC didn't want to show up, he doesn't have to show up. But CMC is also the kind of guy. He's also the kind of guy that absolutely would show up for OTAs. So and now we're getting reports that his wedding is in June. I don't know what his wedding is. I haven't seen any wedding pictures. Let's doom predict. No, we're not gonna go down that road. But I do believe that we have to be honest with ourselves of what is actually happening. So, with that all being said, uh, I don't envy, the 49ers front office being in that position, like a Parag Marathe, I guess, because they find themselves in tough contract conversations every year. That would stress me out. So, oh goodness. So we'll see how it plays out. That's where we're basically going to leave it. Is we have nothing official. I'll have to go back and I'll have to watch Bobby Turner's interview. Apparently, there's a little nugget in there about how he does say that this is contract related. So if that is the case, I would just say be prepared for multiple contract negotiations going on right now, not just the one that we have been so hyper focused on, which is Brandon Ayuk. It's CMC, and absolutely does sound like Jawan Jennings as well, because Jawan Jennings is literally unsigned. He is not signed. Um, I remember he posted to social media a photo of the actual tender, the exclusive rights tender second round level that he signed or thought he signed. based on his kind of wording of the post. It's become crystal clear that he actually did not sign that and he remains unsigned. Now, with Jennings, he can't sign with anyone. He can only sign with the 49ers. So I guess that's a positive outlook on this particular situation is that, oh, okay, well, it's not like any other team can just swoop right in and be like, oh, well, we'll sign Jawan Jennings if you guys aren't. So that can't happen. So that's good. However, we it I would assume that if Jennings has went this long without signing, I would imagine that he will dig in until training camp if he can to try to get a deal because I do recall there was rumblings last offseason of them entering some kind of contract negotiations. Like the ball was at least being passed back and forth. Obviously, didn't get anywhere, but it definitely becomes a challenge for Jennings because man, you it's crazy. It's crazy the cap gymnastics that teams have to do when they have good teams and they have good players and all the things that they have to shuffle around. I mean, and this is with Brock Purdy right now, who's, from my understanding, his cap hit actually doesn't count against the actual cap. It's that small. This is with a quarterback who literally doesn't affect your cap in any way. So, when we see Ricky Pearsall drafted, when we see Jacob Cowing drafted, maybe it's more than just, it became like, oh, Debo replacement became the hot term for Ricky Pearsall, right? Well, maybe they're coming in more to play out of the slot because when you look at both Cowing and Pearsall, they both look just perfect to play for the slot. And the 49ers haven't had a traditional slot wide receiver. When I'm saying traditional, I'm thinking Wes Welker, I'm thinking those guys, the cookie in a phone booth kind of guy, the quicker than fast, first in the weight room, grinds the tape, those kinds of prototypical slot wide receivers. Might not got the long speed, but they got the quick speed. They got the lateral speed. You know what I'm saying. So, and Jawan he's a big slot. Like he's a big body out there that would absolutely and to MJ's point, no, they can't. I don't think either. Now, to Pearsall and Cowing's credit, they block on tape. That was one of my favorite things about watching both of them throughout the kind of post-draft process is both Pearsall and Cowing show up on tape as blockers. But you're right. Juwan Jennings is a beast when it comes to blocking. So it's going to be fascinating. I we've been talking about this for a while, and I have to agree with Brian. Is like you see the moves that are being made, you see the lack of emphasis put into the tight end room that I think we had seen in the past, And it all just kind of feels like, oh, these boys, they're trying to sling it a little bit. You got Brock Purdy, who, like, can sling it. That's the craziest part about where we are at, is that this point last year, we didn't know if Brock Purdy would ever throw a football again. How freaking crazy is that? This time last year, Trey Lance was the San Francisco 49ers starting quarterback. It is absolutely insane what a calendar year feels like in the NFL. It feels like 3 years. That's why 3 years in the NFL it's a different decade, it feels like. Like, the biggest superstars right now in 3 years can be completely washed. Like, it's absolutely insane, the timeline for the NFL, but I think I think with what you're seeing from a roster construction standpoint is the fact that they know that they got a quarterback and throw the football. You know what I'm saying? Like, they know, like, we got a guy and we trust him. So let's add more weapons, spread it out a little bit more, opens up the running lanes. So we'll see. We'll see. Ooh, spicy. What other training or OTA talking points do we want to talk about? We want to talk about offensive line a little bit. Let's talk about Jake Brendel. So I think Jake Brendel is dealing with some knee tendonitis. So Kyle Shanahan has already confirmed that Brendel will not play or practice during OTAs or mandatory minicamp. He'll be back for training camp. So that means that there is a pretty substantial shuffling to the 49ers offensive line group. And when you look at the current offensive line group, without Jake Brendel, you have Feliciano at center, Spencer Burford at right guard, of course, McKivitz at right tackle, uh, Trent is on a veteran schedule, and he absolutely should be. To be totally honest, I don't need to see Trent Williams touch the field in OTAs. I'll just say OTAs. I think he'll be there for mandatory minicamp, and he'll probably participate maybe one of the days, maybe two. If he did zero, I would be perfectly fine with it. I don't need Trent Williams to go out here in any capacity, because we know what Trent is, and it doesn't matter with Trent. The trust level with Trent is through the roof. He's going to be ready to go no matter what. But that means Jalen Moore is in at left tackle. That means Aaron Banks is at left guard, Feliciano at center, Spencer Burford at right guard, and then you have Colton McKivitz. So what I wanted to know, where is Dominic Pooney lining up at? Where is he lining up at? And so I asked that question on Twitter. And shout out to some of you guys that were responding to me, because, as you know, I was at the Great Wolf Lodge. I was doing my best to pay attention, but I was also just trying to spend quality time with my family and my daughter on her birthday. So I didn't get everything. And the one thing that I wanted to know is, like, where is he lining up? And Matt Barrows chimed in and he said Pooney was at right guard. And I was like, ooh. Because I don't think Pooney has a chance to start at left guard. Aaron Banks has locked down that left guard spot. Aaron Banks is a free agent. This is a big year for Aaron Banks, because last year he was in and out of the lineup with injury, and I really think that impacted his play. We need a healthy Aaron Banks, start to finish, and that will set him up for long-term success. So left guard's locked. Obviously, the 49ers have paid Jake Brendel. Jake Brendel will be the starter, in my opinion, as long as he's healthy to start the year. Will that change? Could change depending on how he plays. But I would say, based on the financial uh, commitment that the 49ers have made, based on the fact that Jake has had success, you know, with this team being the starting center, that is going to give him the leg up to be the starter day one. Now, I do believe that Jake had a bit of an inconsistent year last year. I thought he looked really good at the beginning of the season, and I thought he kind of went down a little bit as the year progressed and had some unfortunate moments, just like all offensive linemen do. But he had some that stood out. And I think to the Bengals game and going up against power DTs. So with Jake, he has the potential to continue to get better, especially based on what he did last year. I think Jake shows he's more than serviceable in pass protection. I think where we need to see Jake take that step forward is against power defensive tackles. Just being able to dig out those D tackles. You can't give interior pressure, especially in the run game. And it's one of the key things with centers, man. Like, it's hard. It's not easy. Playing center, I understand how difficult it is to reach block a shaded defensive tackle who weighs 40 more pounds than you and is very strong, and you not only have to reach him with speed, but then you have to flip your hips and then essentially anchor and push so he doesn't get any penetration, because any penetration in those A gaps in run plays will just obliterate anything in between the tackles. So that's where I look at him having to improve the most this next season. But I still anticipate him to be the starter week one, which means Feliciano will be the starter at right guard. And then Pooney's main competition right now is Spencer Burford. So Pooney has to work his way up the depth chart. I remember when I showed up to college, and I don't know, I thought I was good. I thought I was good. And this was after I had already played JUCO. So I was JUCO, I went to D2, and I thought I was good. And they did the initial depth chart in the locker room. So they lined up all the returning offensive line. Then it was phenomenal because I think we had like 18 Polynesian recruits. And so the second string offensive line was all Polynesian, 6'6", 6'5" offensive linemen. So you had returning players with the first unit, all poly offensive line with the second unit, and then I was in third string. And I was like, what the hell, man? I was like, I'm third string. I was like, what is this? I had to work my way to the starting unit. And so that's how it works, is you compete with the guy in front of you. And then once you beat him out, then you're now competing with the guy in front of you, which is the starter. So I made my way to the starting unit. So that's what Pooney has to do. He is going to start in the back. He has to emphatically beat out guys like Ben Barch, Nick Zakel. Once he beats those guys out, then he's got to beat out Spencer Burford. And then once he beats out Spencer Burford, then he has a shot at big Jonathan Feliciano, but there's not a lot of time to get that done in a NFL training camp. So you either have to show up absolutely ready to go, or you're going to spend that year just learning. So it all depends on what Dominic Pooney shows up like. If he shows up ready to go and he can make those leaps in front of these guys within a week, within 2 weeks, within 3 weeks, that's going to be his best shot to start. But I do imagine that when we show up week 1, barring any injuries, making sure everyone's healthy, that the 49ers starting offensive line is going to be Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Brendel, Feliciano, and McKivitz. They have the most experience. They have, and honestly, they need to work together more. It's crazy saying this, that we are heading into year 3 with the 49, this group of Banks, Brendel, Burford, and now you throw in Feliciano into the mix. They just need more work together. They really do. They need more work together. And I think this offensive line would absolutely see improvements based on that. So just that alone. So we'll see. But get your popcorn ready, because we're going to have a lot of things to talk about in training camp. I'm super excited. I think one of the things that has popped out about all this are some of the position battles, kind of like what we're talking about. Backup offensive linemen, definitely going to be some battles there. Wide receiver, big time battles that are going to happen there. We got Josh Dobbs versus Brandon Allen, quarterback competition cooking up. Don't mind that. Defensive end depth battles are going to be going on. Robert Beal has apparently put on like 15 pounds of muscle from what he did last year. So looking forward to seeing what Robert Beal could do. The 49ers drafted him in the 5th round out of Georgia last year. And then you're going to pair him with Yetur Gross-Matos. Obviously, hopefully get Drake Jackson back. But Drake Jackson hasn't been participating yet from what we've seen. He's been off to the side as he's coming back from a knee injury that sidelined him from last year. But I think we got to see who's going to be the starting interior guy. Is it going to be Malik Collins? Is it going to be Jordan Elliott? Well, Kalia Davis. What's Kalia Davis going to do? I think we've all been waiting on him. Is he going to show up? Is Evan Anderson going to surprise as a UDFA? So we're going to find out. I like this one from Cali. He says Renardo Green versus Womack. Absolutely. Womack has shown so many flashes. Like, I feel like his rookie year, he was fantastic. His rookie year, especially in preseason, and also in special teams. Like, he really did show up. But we whenever he's been on the field, I think he's done a good job of providing an impact, at least in the form of special teams. That sticks out to me the most. But I think it's a big year for Womack. Again, Darrell Luter, man. Like, we don't even know what Darrell Luter is. We don't know what he is. So big camp for him to kind of assert his dominance, and just really see how far Ambry falls, or if Ambry can have some type of resurgence that I don't think any of us expect. But if he can do it, because we need it. We need someone to step up to be that third cornerback, whether it's, Isaac Yadam, Rock Yasin, someone. Chase Lucas added to the mix. Can Chase Lucas do any of that stuff? So, man, it's got me hyped, man. I can't wait for training camp. Can't wait to just hear the pads pop. Just really be able to get eyes on. I can't wait. Um, because what will this be? This will be the fourth training camp. Yeah, I think this is training camp number 4 of covering it in person. And I feel like I have a really strong understanding of how training camp works, what we're looking for, what's real, what's fugazi, what means something, what doesn't mean something. I like it. I can't wait. That's funny. I was just looking through my old notepad. So like sometimes when I go, like I'll bring my daughter or my son with me, and I completely forgot. I give them like if we don't have anything, I'll give her my notebook that I write in to go get autographs. And I forgot about these. She got looks like she got Dre Greenlaw. I think that was Knight, Q Knight. I'm not sure who that is. And then Curtis Robinson 59. That's funny. She had another one that we ripped out. I guess I forgot to rip this one out. But she got like Nick Bosa, Debo. She had a great day at that training camp because she got a lot of autographs. My son was super super jealous. But yeah, man, I can't wait. Can't wait to get back out there. Watch some football, watch some one-on-ones. Rookies versus vets, new guys versus old guys. Who's going to stand out? Who's going to fall out of favor? That's where the real fun begins. I just really feel like OTAs, it's just a lot of feeling it out, you know. OTAs is just about getting back in that rhythm of the routine, getting the installs together, kind of getting the baseline worked out, and then you show up to training camp. It's all gas, no brakes. Love it. Absolutely love it. Chris Kosirk is pretty high on free agents and new guys. Talked about having 2 DJ Jones types. I love the DJ Jones types. Those guys are phenomenal. Absolutely. Absolutely. So with OTAs, so I think I saw that next media availability for OTAs will be next Wednesday. So May 29th. So we'll have some time before we get some more updates out of OTAs. But I think we've gotten a lot. I think we've heard from the coaches, we've heard from players. It's really kind of the first time that we get to put last year behind us and just focus. Now, someone had commented on an Instagram post earlier. I forget exactly what he said, but he's just like, I'm not ready for football yet. And for me, I was like, I'm absolutely ready for football because the second training camp starts, I completely forget about what happened the year before. And I'm only focused on what is right here in front of us, and that's training camp, and that's getting better, and that's doing it again. I feel like some fans, and I understand, some fans have a fatigue, right? Like there's a fatigue in the sense of how many times can we keep doing this without winning a Super Bowl? Which I get. I get it. But that's also a part of the journey. Like that's why I love football. Every year you get a new chance. Whether you win it or don't, you get another chance. And you wipe the slate clean. It's a new year, it's a new group, it's new players, it's guys who make the jump, guys fall out. You don't know. So that's why I'm really when training camp starts, I'm like, what happened last year? I have no idea. Because all I care about is what's happening in front of us and then what we can project out. So for me personally, I get it. Yeah, last year sucked the way it ended, and it will always suck. And when we think back to it, it will suck. But that's why I'm excited for the new season because I'm excited to do it again. I really am. That's probably why it's probably why I'm able to do what I do because I like that. I like to be able to wipe the slate clean and go attack another season and we don't know what the outcome's going to be. So Jay Tan says, Brad, how many sacks will Leonard Floyd have this year? I really love what Leonard Floyd said on KMBR earlier. He's so basically Leonard Floyd has averaged about 10 sacks the last 4 years. And he's like, I'm going for numbers I've never reached before. And to be honest, this year might be that opportunity for him to do that. Leonard Floyd easily could hit 10 sacks. I think Leonard Floyd has the potential to go for 14 sacks because if Hargrave and like I talked about, if you get pressure from the interior guys like Yetur Gross-Matos or Hargrave, and then you have Bosa out there, and then you have Floyd. Listen, you can only slide the offensive line to one side. Now, if you really wanted to get crazy with your protections and you wanted to keep a running back in, you wanted to shift a tight end or a linebacker to the opposite side that you're sliding protection for an extra chip, fine. That's fine, but you're messing with your offensive kind of integrity in the sense of how you're attacking a defense. You're more playing defense as an offense than kind of attacking, if that makes sense. So you can only slide protection to one side, which means you're only sending help to one side, and then you're going man up on the backside. So the backside, which theoretically could be in pass rushing situations, Floyd and YGM. If you get Floyd in one-on-one situations with the left tackle, left tackle, because I know Bosa does like to rush off the right side. So if you get one-on-one situations with Floyd on the left side, you get YGM one-on-one situations with guards with the left guard, and you can get. That's the way that I'm viewing it. That's the way that I'm viewing it. I'm viewing it in the sense that we know Bosa is going to create havoc. We know Hargrave has the potential to create havoc. I mean, Hargrave was the best player on the 49ers defense against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's possible. People, I think, was it like ESPN or Sports Center or MMQB? Like they ranked Hargrave as the worst free agent signing of last year. I was like, hold on a second. Like, come on. Like, okay, did Hargrave necessarily play up to the value of his contract? Maybe not from a production standpoint. But the worst? I was like, that's crazy. Because when you have a game, like again, the Jags game to me is what Hargrave could be. And I asked Hargrave about it at the Super Bowl. I was like, what happened in that Jags game? Because you went crazy. I think he had one sack, but he also forced two other sacks. And he was just a menace. He was all over the place. He was just like, you know what? We had such a bad taste in our mouth heading into that bye week. And, I was just pissed off. It's like, I was pissed off. And I came out and I did what I needed to do. And so I guess is that the key? Do we just got to piss Hargrave off? Just get him pissed off. And I would imagine, seeing that he was ranked as the worst free agent signing, and there's pride involved. y- you know, I think Hargrave got something to prove for sure. So I think Leonard Floyd could theoretically, if we get the same Leonard Floyd that we've gotten the last 4 years, and we get no drop off, I could see his sack totals going from 10 to 14. I could see a net positive of 4 additional sacks on this defensive line as long as our rush and coverage becomes more married. Then I would expect more sack production from every defensive lineman on the front end, because when I was watching tape of the defense last year, I thought the lack of sack production was more indicative of the coverage than actually the rush. There were absolutely opportunities where the rush wasn't getting home, but there are plenty of opportunities where the rush could have gotten home if the coverage held up for literally half a step longer. But we didn't. We ran so much soft zone coverage that every quarterback just took the 7-yard digs or the 7-yard slant. Like, they would just take everything that was in front of them that we gave them, and it absolutely mitigated the pass rush as a result. It was one of the more frustrating things of watching the defensive tape last year. It was just like, it's like, dude, can we just stop playing with 10-yard cushions for our cornerbacks, because they're just running 5-yard ins and they're gaining 8 yards. I get it. You're not giving anything up like big behind you, which I understand that thought process, but it also takes away from your pass rush when you're giving these quarterbacks easy reads. They're like, all right, we'll take it. So that's my biggest hope. Obviously, Brandon Staley, Sorensen, what they're going to be able to do, how they're going to be able to fix the overall marriage between rush and coverage, because I think that's the key to our defense. There has to be a marriage, that they have to be cohesive, and it just wasn't last year. Just wasn't. And when we had the most success, it was. But I would say predominantly it wasn't. There you go. I haven't watched Staley's press conference yet. I still have to watch the coaches' press conference because that happened yesterday. But I was still at the Great Wolf Lodge. But apparently, Staley's talking about the same thing. And that just wasn't happening last year. And it was all over the tape. But nonetheless, this team is still very talented. There are some questions. There's some new faces. There's some rookies. I think we have the perfect blend of being able to be optimistic about this group while also have some questions. Be like, well, what is this guy going to do? How is this guy going to improve? Is this guy getting better or worse? Because if this guy gets worse, that's going to have a dramatic effect on our overall plan for this position group. So it's a big, it's I kind of like it. this way. I don't know. I feel like when you know your roster is going to perform in a specific way and you know who's going to be playing, it takes some of the intrigue of the battles out of it. But I think, is it going to be Devondre Campbell, or is it going to be Winters or Jalen Graham? Are one of those guys going to rise to the occasion and have a huge second year leap? It's going to be one of those guys. Who's it going to be? Who's going to have the leap? Is Drake Jackson? Is it going to click? Is it going to happen? I can't wait. Questions: who's cornerback 3? Who's that guy going to be? Who's tight end 2? Braden Willis? All right, let's go. I think this year more than ever, I'm really interested in what the second offensive line unit is going to be. Just who is it? I would say that Ben Barch, Nick Sakel, Spencer Burford, Pooney, and Jalen Moore are absolutely in the thick of it. Also, would have to imagine it's like, you got Brandon Parker, you also got Hubbard. Are those guys going to be anything of value? We'll see. Who will be tight end 2? I think it's really between Sauber or Willis. But I got my money on Willis. I'm quietly optimistic about Braden Willis. What I think Braden Willis could be a guy. Feliciano develops in pass pro. I don't recall Feliciano struggling in pass pro. I actually thought he excelled in pass pro. I remember he had this one rep against the Seattle Seahawks where he blocked 2 guys. One hand to the chest of one guy, and then a blitzer came, and he went hand to the chest of the blitzer, and he literally anchored while blocking 2 guys. I was like, oh shit. It's like, all right, Jonathan. I watched every rep of Feliciano last year. I don't recall him struggling in pass protection. If anything, Feliciano was probably outside of Trent Williams was probably the most consistent offensive lineman we had. So I don't know. But I can also confidently say that not watching on the broadcast, I studied every single one of his reps last season. So I definitely disagree with this. We don't have to agree. But based on what I studied last year of Jonathan Feliciano, he was not well below average in pass pro. He was definitely the most consistent in all things offensive line next to Trent Williams. All those guys struggled. Aaron Banks, Brendel, Burford, and McKivitz all had struggles. Feliciano was like a stopgap. You're like, oh, Banks is out. Okay, Feliciano. Burford's out. Okay, Feliciano. Banks is out. Feliciano. Burford's out. Like, he just kept bouncing back and forth. And every time he would get into that spot, he would lock that spot down. And guess what? That side started working better because he brought a level of consistency that we just had from Banks and Burford because they were either injured or they just weren't playing as consistently as possible. So yeah, respectfully disagree. But again, to each their own. That's what my eyes saw. Uh, Tulio says, I'm happy to be am I happy to be a 49er or what? Good times, good times. I can't tell if that's sarcastic, but shout out for being a member for 8 months. Let's go. I would imagine it's not sarcasm, but could be. I don't know. I can't tell. Uh, Feliciano regressed in pass pro significantly last year. What are you talking about? I just explained what I'm talking about. I watched and studied every single repetition from Jonathan Feliciano last year, and that is objectively not true. So, if you care to show me any film cut ups, and again, it would have to be multiple film cut ups because I can show you a cut up right now of Trent Williams getting beat. So that exists. Uh, you have to show me the trends that point to what you're talking about. Not a single thing on tape showed what you're talking about. In fact, it showed the inverse of what you're talking about. So you can say that he regressed in pass pro significantly last year, just like I can say I've been to the moon. But until someone shows proof of how this comes to fruition, we can say all the things that we want. But I can only speak from my perspective. And again, your perspective is your perspective. But as someone who has confidently studied every tape or every rep of Feliciano last year on tape, I could pull up any rep of Feliciano right now on any game on all 22 right this second and show it to you and break it down. I said I respectfully disagree. Respectfully. Again, offensive lineman is very subjective, especially for those who don't necessarily know what they're looking for. But I feel very confident in my ability to evaluate offensive line, understand offensive line. You could keep saying that again, or you could reference a game, a period. Like I don't have anything for you. That like I could show you inconsistencies in all like every, like I said, Banks, Brendel, Burford, and McKivitz. But outside of Trent, Feliciano was the closest to Trent. He was much closer to Trent than he was to the other group. So the key, like I've talked about with this group, is for all of them to play consistently together. That has been their biggest issue for the last 2 years. Is they just aren't consistently all five doing what they're supposed to do at the same time. You'll have 4 guys doing what they're supposed to do and 1 guy not. And it messes everything up. But it's on it's a different guy on every, you start getting through a series, like say you have a 7-8 play series. On 5 of the plays out of the 8, the right guard messed up one time, the center messed up one time, the right tackle messed up one time, the left guard messed up one time, left tackle messed up one time. It's not the same guy messing up over and over again. It's a situation of all 5 aren't where they should be based on the design, based on the look, based on how they got played versus the defense. And all it takes is one guy not being where they should be or doing what they should do, and the whole offensive line looks dramatically different. So I feel most comfortable with Trent and Feliciano right now. If I had to rank it, it would be Trent, Feliciano, Banks, Brendel. Ooh. I actually Trent, Feliciano, Banks, McKivitz, Brendel, Burford. McKivitz jumping up the rankings. That's my consistency comfortability meter ranking. Is who do I feel most comfortable with from a consistency standpoint? Ooh, that's close. I don't know. Brendel's pretty consistent in pass protection. He just struggled last year in the run game. He's pretty that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Burford has everything. He has it all. It's just got to click on the field. That's it. It's just got to click. The mental aspect of it has to click. He has to know where to be and what to do in every situation. And if he could do that, he would be all right. Hubbard over McKivitz. I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know if I'm ready for Hubbard over McKivitz, but hey, you know. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But anyways, I enjoyed talking ball with you guys. I can't believe it'd been like 6 days since we had done a live. But hey, man, life happens. Want to make sure I get to spend ample time with my family. Oh, one thing before we get out of here. Me and my buddy over at Warriors World, we partnered together to honor one of my really good friends that passed away. So if you guys follow any of my content, and have since I would say 2018, pretty much I would say 95% of the photos that come across my platform had come from Christopher Mezzavilla. And unfortunately, I think it was earlier this month, he passed away from cancer. And this one was really difficult because this was my guy. I mean, he was so instrumental in helping me build my brand and allowed me to be different, because he would send me all of his photos, and his photos were insanely good. Like, I really do believe he was the best 49ers photographer around, like not even close. And that's no disrespect to anyone else, because we have so many phenomenal photographers and people who do creative. That's just how highly I thought of his work. But unfortunately, he passed away from cancer. He left behind his wife and 2 young boys. And honestly, this absolutely gutted me. I remember the day I found out, I didn't do any videos, I didn't do a live. It just took me out because he meant so much to me. But I partnered with Warriors World. We are doing a shirt to honor him with some photos that he took, and obviously a camera to represent him. And all the proceeds from this shirt will be donated to the Ellison Institute Research Foundation. Um, that's where his wife Christy has been sending all the donations. It's where he got his cancer treatment, and so all the proceeds from this launch will go to a good cause. Will go to something that he believed in and helped him along the way. He's only 41 years old. Um, starting to get choked up thinking about it, just seeing the picture of him. Um, it's my guy, man. It's my guy. I was just looking back, because I would get emails from him. Here's the OTA photos, and obviously, I'm not going to be getting those emails anymore. And it just we always, anytime he sent me the email, the photos, we just kind of chop it up, and it's just crazy, man. Crazy how things like this happen. This was my guy, man. This is one of the guys when I first started doing this. Like he saw my potential really early on. Um, and as someone who wanted to cover the Niners, up close and personal. You guys know I'm big into like shooting, like I want to capture content um and share it, He knew that's what I like. This is my guy, man. Like this, I don't even know what else to say. It's just my guy. Just absolutely gutted. I got to watch his whole family grow up, his young boys grow up through, the posts that he made. I felt like, yeah, it's just crazy, man. It's just crazy. But again, these shirts are to honor him and to just, try to continue on his legacy. He's just phenomenal person. He was the GOAT at photography, but he was also just a GOAT person. He was just one of those dudes who never asked for anything, and just, again, I never asked him for any of these photos. And he probably sent me over 50,000 photos since 2018. And he just sent them out of the kindness of his heart because he knew it helped me. And they were the best photos ever. Like, literally. Like, it's crazy. I have this up right here because I used it for a video I made. I can't show it, but anyways, that's my guy. I got that posted up on Instagram or Facebook if you guys want to go check it out. Support, show love. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I can't even believe it still. Can't even believe it, but that's my dog. Um, RIP Mez, man. Absolute 49ers legend. I haven't been able to talk about it because I would absolutely break down, and I can feel it happening. So I just want to say love my guy, and we lost a legend, man. We lost a legend. But appreciate all you guys as always for rocking with the channel, rocking with me, and supporting good people like Mez, man. That was the legend. So gonna be a weird year. Gonna be a weird ass year without him a part of our 49ers community. But I'm going to do everything I can to, keep his memory going. Just keep using photos that he took just to kind of help remember him by. But shout out to everyone for tapping in. We'll be back tomorrow, talk more ball. You already know there's always something to talk about. But appreciate all you guys. I'm out of here for now. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see